Okay, this is what, August 31st? Okay, it's August 31st. Adam, this is for you. Go to Schoology, you will see a textbook PDF linked on the very top. Boulier is our author name. Boulier is our author name. So download that Boulier and put it in a folder for AP World. Top of Schoology, download the textbook link. Boulier. It's the very first link you'll see, I believe. Because our problem is, it's good to have a class set of textbooks and we don't have one. So now we can fire these up and you can like look at the maps, maybe even screenshot maps and things like that so that you can actually like pull stuff out of the textbook that's useful. Unfortunately, it's not the same edition of our textbook. It's the 4th edition, not the 5th, which is what you have at home. But we do what we can do. Once you're done with that, there are teacups out in front of all of you. Please grab one right now if you're having tea.
Yeah, and one more.
Thank you.
Actually, thank you so much. Though.
You're not having tea, friend? Do you need a cup?
No, I'm not drinking.
Nobody?
Yeah, it's an APW.
Oh.
I mean, I don't use it.
Okay, a couple of tea protocol things. Please listen and stop talking. Thank you. A couple of tea protocol things. If you're having tea, please listen to me and look at me. I'll come around here, so simply put it out forward, like put it out here and take your hands away. And it's very easy for me to refill and then pull it back when you're done. Whoa. Second, when you finish your tea at the end of class, take it again. Please use a paper towel to clean it out. And then I have paper towels on these trays because they're absorbent. So put it face down so that it can drain onto it. All right? Simple enough. Thank you. Moving on. Those of you who got here within the last, 2 minutes before class started, didn't hear the conversation. If you finished downloading the textbook, please lower your screens. You don't have to close it, especially if it's still downloading, but please lower it so you can't see it. Lower it even more because you can still see it. It's a soul-sucking device that will suck your soul into it. It's like that monster in Harry Potter. What are they called? The Dementors. It sucks your soul away from me. I'm sitting here looking at 18 faces and not a single one is looking at me. It makes me feel so weird. So, good, we killed the Dementors. Those of you who weren't here, 3 minutes, 4 minutes before class started, we had a very quick discussion in which I proposed this. I don't want to do quizzes in class. And I have 2 very good reasons to say you should do them at home for a grade. What are my 2 very good reasons to say I don't think you'll cheat at home? Those of you who were here, thank you, Tyrone.
Because we already have our notes.
No, I don't want you to use the notes. I don't want you to use the notes. Why is it a bad idea for you to use your notes?
It's not realistic.
Why isn't it true, but why is it an importantly bad idea?
You'll fail yourself at the end.
Huh?
You will fail at the end because you're cheating yourself now.
Fail what?
Exam.
The AP exam. You'll fail the AP exam. So if you don't know this stuff, great, you're getting little quiz scores that are worth 0.5% of your GPA, and you're cheating on them, and then you're failing the AP exam. That's not smart. So if you cheat on this, you cheat yourself in the end. Further, here's what I want to do. I want to let you do the quizzes at home. Honor system, because you're dumb if you cheat. That's the first thing. We just established that. B, with as many chances as you need to get it right, so that you can keep doing it until you get the A that you didn't get the first time, without using your notes. C, that way you have practice quizzes to go back to and refresh yourself at home for the rest of the year, because this stuff is going to be an old unit soon enough, and you can forget it, so you can refresh your memory and reinforce it. why else is it smart to have you do these things at home? Thank you, Priyanka.
So you have more time to learn in class.
We have more class time. So, can we agree that that's our thing?
Yeah.
Because Mr. Bissett gives quizzes in class, and you know what happens to students who fail the quizzes? He lets them retake them. And so, in final analysis, everybody in both classes gets a second chance on the quizzes to get an A on the quizzes. And I don't understand why we would waste class time on it. Okay? So, good. Don't cheat yourself. There is absolutely no incentive. You will have every opportunity. I will give you the highest score that you score for the quiz. They're worth almost nothing of your GPA. The point is for them to help you learn, not to like make you have an A. When do you get a chance to affect your GPA grade? This is an important question. Your summative assessment. What are these quizzes setting you up for? Your summative assessment, okay? All right, we all understand? Good. Okay, so that quiz is there. Do it at home. Now you can lower your screens. Close your laptops. Oh, another T protocol thing? I don't know about putting them away because we might open them later. Students give me my tea. Sometimes it's really good. Very rarely it's really bad. So, and I never know because students give it to me and it's like, -4. I don't know. So, if it's a bad tea, just say, Mr. Bros, go kill the student that gave you that one. Can we have a different kind? And it's all okay. 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 Or as Spanky said in the Little Rascals. Rascals? Oh, Tay. All right. You don't know what I'm talking about.
Such high culture.
You know the Little Rascals? Spanky and Alfalfa and the He-Man Woman Haters Club?
Yeah. You guys are something.
That's not always
I don't watch it.
But hey,
You don't watch it.
for that age,
like they're long movies that people don't watch.
Okay, so
high culture.
on your journals, today is August 31st. I've lost count of what lesson it is. I can actually tell you. August 31 is February. I have 7. No.
I know we have 1 and 11.
Huh? August. 29. Oh, hell no. This is
And there's
lesson.
so many people this birthday
Huh?
as well. Yeah.
This is August 31st. Oh, it's Beta. Yeah, this is lesson 7. But it doesn't matter. Really? Because it's August 28th no matter what number you put after the lesson. So what is our topic today? Our topic is Persia. And instead of Greece, let's put the Hellenistic Empire. The Hellenistic. Hellen is spelled with 2 L's. So just Helen with 2 L's and then Istic. Who created the Hellenistic Empire? Alexander. So now we're looking at Alexander the Great. And then there's only one empire left. And notice, by the time Alexander the Great is done, well, there's one empire left. And that takes us to the end of the classical period and the focus of this. And you have seen every single major empire in the Middle East and the Mediterranean all hit Jerusalem in order. Now, has my method, please give me an honest, has my method of saying to remember the chronology over time of this age of empires, there's so many of them, has my method helped you focus on Jerusalem? Has it helped you? So who's the earliest empire to hit the Jews?
Assyrians.
The Assyrians. And after the Assyrians, who?
Babylonians.
What happened to the Assyrians when the Babylonians took over?
Wiped out.
They're erased from history because they could become part of this new empire, Babylonian. And then, what happens to the Babylonians? The Persians. What happens to the Babylonians?
They wiped out.
If the Babylonians are held captive,
No, wait.
the basic point here is that in this age of empires, when one empire beats another, what happens to the losing empire? What's one word we can use? Merge?
Assimilated.
Assimilated, absorbed, swallowed up, conquered. Okay? Because that's what empires do. Ask an empire why it takes another places. Because I'm an empire. That's what I do. Okay. So now, a couple of things. Last week was the brutal week. God, it was brutal. Parent nights, and more meetings than I couldn't swing a dead cat without hitting a meeting. You can use that line. I stole it because it's so good. I was like, I'm gonna steal it. So yeah, last week was brutal, and this week is good. And over the weekend, I caught up on some grading, but that's with my freshmen who have to write a narrative "Who am I?" essay. And those of you who are sophomores, you remember it. And but it's okay because you're new. They are. We'll get better. Growth mindset. So okay, so I've got your comparative essays right here. I will be marking them, and my aim is to have them back to you next class so that you can see how you're doing as far as that goes. And then we will look at the skills, how AP graders grade a comparative essay. If I'm already hearing the chorus of clicky clickies, please bring something fuzzy and soft in, click lists, to click instead. Bring a little tennis ball. Just walk around just squeezing your ball. Parentheses, tennis ball. All right, so because AP is a very interesting animal and a good one, I'm starting to like it more and more. I know it spills, it doesn't matter. They do award. Let me get back to my plan. Too many things going on. Yeah, there's one more thing I wanted to. Okay, now, at this point, this is a good idea. And I'll pray to the apple guy. I'm going to fall over backwards epically before the semester ends. It's Let's do a brief. Thing. Jeez, look at all this stuff. That's all AP world. Who can tell me what the earliest metal age was?
Bronze Age.
Who's really good? Who can tell me when that age started? And I don't want an exact date because that's a silly expectation. Talk to yourselves. How can you intelligently go? I can name the date without naming the year. How would you do it? Talk to yourselves. I can name the date without using the year. How?
The middle, like,
No. I'm asking you a specific question. This is a how to think of Ryan. This is a how to think of dates in general when you're talking about periods. You don't have to remember the exact year. What do you need instead? Talk to yourself.
middle and starting of which century?
You need a time marker.
How many centuries?
You need a beginning time marker and an end time marker, but you don't need a year. So what do you need instead? Month?
No, the one before the metal.
Really? Nobody knows the answer to that? When did the age of imperialism start?
Which age of imperialism?
Okay, when did the Industrial Revolution start?
1800s.
1800s. Late 1700s. So, I don't have to say 1783, that's stupid. That would kill me. But how hard is it for me to go late 18th century? Late 18th century. So if you get a centuries sort of framework in your head. So, in what century can we say the Bronze Age roughly started?
30th
30th what?
century BC.
BCE. Alright, and then, so I want you to write down, so this is just more on periodization. A little parenthetical. More on periodization. I will be quizzing you because AP does give, if you want to get the extended points, for you to get a 9, which is 100% on the AP exam, you have to get the 7 basic things. If you don't get the 7 basic points, you can't get the 2 extra points for a 9. So if you get 6 out of 7 on the basic rubric, you saw the rubric. You saw the rubric and I had you annotated. It's got the core rubric and then the expanded rubric. core rubric's worth 7 points. If you don't get 7 out of 7, then you don't even qualify to get the mastery 9 out of 9. They're like, no, you got 6 out of 7, you don't get the extra 2 points, so the most you can get is 6. So, this is very important. One way to get those mastery points is the historical evidence. Be really good at that historical evidence. What is historical evidence? It is basic stuff like dates, names, and so forth. But notice, dates doesn't mean memorizing numbers, like exact years. If you can say late 18th century, that's close enough. 30th century BCE, that's close enough. Unless it's a very important date like the Declaration of Independence, or these that we all know, like a year that a country started or a major thing happened. September 11, what year was that, right? 2001, right? So these things we know. There are a few dates. Okay, so that's one thing. The next concept that I want you to think about in terms of periodization. So our first major concept is getting used to centuries. The century that something began. A period began in what century? Now, why does a period end? Discuss amongst yourselves. Why do we say, okay, that age ended and the next age started? Why do we say it's time to periodize differently? Quickly, this is not hard. Okay, massage yourself on the shoulder. Massage yourself on the shoulder if you said, when some event is so major that it makes the old label no good. I'm going to because I need a backup. So let's use a common language. The language of marker events. Marker events. This marks a new, this event is so important, Matthew. This event is so important that it marks a new era. Marker events. As you are thinking, as you are looking at the flow of time over centuries and centuries and millennia is a great word. What does it mean? Thousands of, so 1 millennium is 1,000 years. Millennia is plural, not millenniums. Marker events are all. AP is looking for you to have the intelligence to go, I can distinguish between a major event and a significant but not marker event, like world-changing event. What was the world-changing event that ended the Bronze Age? What's our marker event? Iron. The invention of iron. Now, very interesting. When did the invention of iron happen? During what century can we say the Iron Age began?
1,500.
A lot of you are throwing out numbers. Thank you for playing. Justify your numbers with because that's when. We see the effects of this thing.
No, it's the Hittites.
That's when.
It's the Hittites. I don't know. It's
All right. Is the Iron Age going to have started in China and Western Europe the same time it started in the Middle East? No. So what do we learn from that?
There's not like a specific date.
So what do you need to learn? What do you when you're looking at different regions?
It's like the marker event, or like when it was widely spread. When it became common.
If you can do something like this, when the Bronze Age began in China in the 23rd century BCE, bam. When the Bronze Age began in Sumer in the 30th century BCE, because they began in different times, right? So you do need to actually periodize 4 different civilizations. And how hard is that? It's a great introductory sentence, because already, introductory, first sentence, I'm giving the background of this comparison, and I'm already showing you that I've got my periodization down. Not just for 1, but for 2 different regions on the world. So, all right. Because, so when did the Iron Age start in the Middle East? If you're really good, who noticed? Did we talk about who invented iron? The Assyrians were in the same region, but the Hittites. The Hittites. This random, short-lived. And where were the Hittites, by the way?
And then
So What's the regional name for Turkey? We haven't hit that.
Anatolia.
If you don't know it, write it down.
Or
Turkey's
Anatolia.
regional name is
Anatolia.
Anna, A-N-A.
Wait, still now? Like to this day?
No, now we call it Turkey because it's pretty much a country on that. But if you were to say Anatolia, people would know what you're talking about. Educated people would. Yeah. Anatolia, T-O-L-I-A. Yes, Sam.
which would be a better name, Anatolia or Asia Minor?
Both work. I would say probably Anatolia, but both work. And you know what? You can like use them as synonyms to like avoid repeating the same word over and over. And then people go, ooh, break out the vocab skills, no. That's exactly what they'll do.
Did you say minor Asian?
Figured one or two
Wait,
times.
No, Asia Minor.
All right. So let's go ahead and do this thing. A little quick preview. These are all screenshots from Houlier, from the exact thing that you have. So what is this telling us here? What do you think 1500 is?
Iron Age.
Early Iron Age. And notice I just said early Iron Age. How long do you think it's going to take the early Iron Age to turn into like, okay, this is some serious stuff. When does it start making a difference beyond the
When it
Hittites?
spreads.
When it spreads. So, and so we notice, this is from the Houlier textbook as well, we notice that their pre-classical chapter on Mesopotamia, Egypt, and the Indus Valley is all Bronze Age, 1500s. After the 1500s, things start collapsing in Mesopotamia, the Tigris-Euphrates. After the 1500s, things start collapsing in Egypt, and really it's like towards the end of those. Notice this date here, 1070, 1150. So like the late second millennium BCE, the late, say the 12th century, 11th century BCE. Seems like that iron thing is really causing serious, serious disruptions. Like there seems to be armies that are invading and destroying states that don't have iron, Matthew. And it really does, kind of like World War II did, destroy the global order or the regional order of that time. In such a way that it really wipes clean the slate and new things start happening. What was destroyed by World War II? What power structures were destroyed? What empire lost its empire? The British Empire, the German Empire. And so, you know, and so we have new empires that rise at the end of World War II. And what's the biggest one? The American and the Russian. Yes, those two, right? And so, so notice I just gave you a connection. The late Bronze Age / early Iron Age is very much like a World War II type event for the Middle East. And that's why we have all these new empires rising and filling the vacuum, because they are iron empires. They're iron empires. Let's do a couple more things. This is a very well chosen word. I love somewhere, was it, I don't remember, the peopling of the earth. Big geography and the peopling of the earth. That's the AP curriculum framework. So big geography, we did those two silly tests. I could name continents and East Africa, West Africa, big geography, regional geography. But the second part, the peopling of the earth, that was the out of Africa stuff. Now what have we not talked about? We've only talked about a few peoples, and we've left other peoples out. What peoples have we left out? Thanks, Roy. China.
We haven't talked in depth about the Indus Valley.
We haven't talked about the Indus Valley, but those have been listed at least in our 6 core civilizations. So there are all sorts of others that we haven't talked about.
Europe.
Europe, thank you. Especially what part? Well, really, all of it. All of it. You're right.
Africa.
Africa, you're right. Okay, so there are other peoples, and so Notice what this date tells you, 2500 to 1000 BCE. What's going on in the world in terms of peopling?
Spread.
Yeah, it's spreading, but now look closely. You'll see some interesting stuff. Like, let's start with Egypt. What happens with Egypt there?
Yeah, sir.
Is that Egypt?
No,
Sudan.
Nubia.
It's not Egypt. It's Nubia. So this is a new state that core civilization spreads down the Nile, up the Nile. You know, the Nile flows north, so upstream of the Nile, south. And a new civilization spreads. It's not Egypt. So this is that core or mother civilization extending and spreading its influence to peoples. So we now go from peopling to civilizing, right? Civilizing meaning urbanizing. It's not a value statement. I think civilized people suck. I think village people are superior, right? I often think we should get Indian village people to come to this school and teach us how to be good, caring people, right? Because they're more civilized than us. They're not nearly as rude, right? Except for you, you're all excluded, of course, you're exceptions. So let's take a quick little thing. We will do China, of course. China's coming soon. What?
You're looking forward to that one.
The way I'm like patting it. Now let's see. I think sweetness and light. Sweetness and light. All right. You have no idea how excited I am that I can actually owe you something. Okay. All I want to talk about is Nubia and Celtic Europe. Celtic, what's Celtic? All right, and so we're quickly going to people Europe, going back to period 1, because Greece is coming. And let's figure out how the hell Greeks got there. They were peopled before they were civilized. Right? So, oh God, really? Okay. All that you have to know, this is must know from AP, that's why I'm doing this. Must know from AP. Egypt did trade with Nubia. We don't have to read the whole Nubian section. Egypt, Old Kingdom, Middle Kingdom, New Kingdom, Egypt traded with Nubia. The New Kingdom actually invaded Nubia and conquered it. Why? What did Nubia have?
Gold.
Gold. They had gold. They had other things from, what's that region of Africa where we have black Africans instead of olive-skinned Africans? Do we know this language? Sub-Saharan Africa? If we don't, that's a regional term. It's incredibly useful. We divide Africa into North Africa and Sub-Saharan Africa. That's enough. Yes, West, North, Central, East, and Southern, but the Sahara is a great marker. What other things does Sub-Saharan, because Sudan is Sub-Saharan, and so what other resources besides gold might Sudan offer that Super-Saharan Egypt might covet? It's not like it's essential, but it's luxurious. Ivory, right, from our elephants. So, and in the process, Nubia first picked up Egyptian civilization, but over the years of Egyptian control. And notice, when did Egyptian control lose out? This is very interesting. Somebody make the connection, 1,000. Egypt apparently gets weak around 1,000. This is interesting. Do you see why? Who said it? Iron. Look at iron. Egypt is weak. There's this iron thing is like disrupting our power. So much that we lose control of Nubia down south, our gold mine. literally. The early Iron Age is a big mystery to us. There's a lot of destruction, but there's very little records of who did it, what happened. So it's a big mystery to us. But what we do know is that no empire, no late Bronze Age empire, I'm using this language, period of late Bronze Age, no late Bronze Age empire avoided the weakening and disruption of iron around by 1000 BCE. So, over the next 500 years of the early first millennium BCE, Nubia starts developing its own civilization. And that's all that you need to know about Nubia. So we've seen a core sieve, Alana, we've seen a core sieve, the Nile, spread south and civilize what had already been peopled by black Africans, and control them for a while, culturally diffuse for a while, and then lose them. I actually want to show you this one, so yeah, I'll do it. Oh no, stop. Okay. Just because I liked, you read the Egypt chapter.
Yeah.
You didn't read the Nubia chapter. So okay, so why did Egypt find it so, why did Egyptian civilization, the Old Kingdom and such, why did it only do this part? Because it's a geography question. What do you think?
Cataracts.
No, look, this is all desert, and there's the Nile River, and so great, it's flooding and we'll farm along the river. We're wonderfully isolated. You do remember that about Egypt. That's hugely important. Why did Egypt have it so nice? 2 reasons. 1, nobody can invade us, except from the swampy Nile Delta. 2, our floods are just perfectly timed. God loves us. Sam.
The cataracts.
Cataracts. There are how many of them?
7.
What's a cataract? It's a big. It's just like
Rapids.
Cyclops throw boulders in the river,
Rapids.
and it makes rapids, and boats can't go down them, and it's very dangerous. You'll die if you try to take a boat through this cataract. And yes, it can be waterfalls, but it's rapids, rough, fast, dangerous rapids. There are how many in the Nile?
7.
6, I think. And so here's the first one. Second one, gold, 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 copper, granite, copper. Third, fourth, fifth, and I think there's one more down here. But in any case, you don't have to know the exact number of cataracts. It's just interesting, right? The Egyptians wanted it so much that they started building forts where they marched around the cataracts to go down and conquer, so they could get all the gold and such dirtbags.
Wait, so can you not navigate the Nile then because of the cataracts?
That part. And I don't know what 20th century engineering has done to the cataracts. I don't know if they've made it navigable. And so we see very interesting stuff here. What do we see? This is not your typical hieroglyphic mural. What is it evidence of?
Darker skin.
Well, yes, we notice 2 skin types, right? So there's your sub-Saharan and your Egyptian in their interactions. And so that's all of that. You see what they're bringing, right? They're bringing gold and all sorts of stuff. 14th century, before Egypt lost control, right? Now let's go back up to the other peopling. And here it is, the Celts. C-E-L-T. You've heard the basketball team, the Boston, we call it Celtics because we're American. It should be Boston Celtics. So who the hell are the Celts? And where do they come from? We talked about Indo-Europeans, did we not?
Yeah.
Okay, so they're Indo-Europeans. Where did the Indo-Europeans come from? Huh?
Around the Black Sea.
Yeah, if you don't know this, let me pull up another. curse, that's just a German word. Hell and damnation. Ayo. Where's the H key? I can't believe I can't find this. It's ridiculous. Oh well. Alright, we'll do this. Okay, here we go, sorry. I'm gonna open two. Okay, here we go. That's people. That's people. It's a verb. That's people. We're peopling now. Indo-Europeans, have I shown you this map?
Nope.
All right, so we're peopling. We're filling in the spots because they're going to start like, just like the Nubians, they're going to start like civilizing. So let's put them there first and then watch them become cities and watch how these, what's our AP word? Watch how these states interact. We want to see. So, and here's an interesting question. Here's an interesting question. What were the like earliest genetic Caucasians? That's white people like me. What were they like? If geography is destiny, if biology is destiny, if genetics is destiny, if they all shape us, can we even entertain the maybe, the perhaps? The earliest ancestors of the white race may have been sort of shaped in ways that are still affecting white people today. Can we entertain that idea? Genetically, the environment selected for certain types of traits, and those people reproduced, and other people with different kinds of traits didn't adapt, and so their genes died out. So certain types of genes and gene expressions were passed on, and so we see a certain type of genetic profile of Caucasians because they were here from the 35th century BCE. That's late Neolithic, but they're way up here. So let's get our language. What do we call white people?
Caucasian.
Caucasian. Cool. Do you know why?
Yeah, Caucasus Mountains.
You're such a spoiler. Because they come from the Caucasus Mountains. They're Indo-Europeans. So, the Caucasus Mountains, where the hell are they? Geography. What's this sea? Don't say it, you that know. What's this sea? There's the Mediterranean. Come on, what's this sea? That's the Black Sea. If you don't know it, for crying out loud, you're almost in college. It's a major body of water. It's the Black Sea. Now, this one's really funny. What the hell is this one? We call it a sea. To me, it's a lake. But is it salt?
No.
Yeah, it's salt and water.
Nicholas is our geography expert.
I'm not sure.
I think
It's
it
a
was
large
both.
lake
I
in
think
the
it was
world.
both.
Isn't it the Arrow?
It's, yeah, how the hell can it be an ocean? with salt in it. I don't get that. But maybe it is because maybe there's a salt desert. I don't know. But, so this is called the Caspian. In any case, who cares? We care because. Is this the Caucasus here? Nicholas, I'm asking you, is this the Caucasus here, or is it up here?
It's down here in the bit between the two Caspian and Black Sea.
So this is the Caucasus?
Yeah, where it's like, it says SK.
Yeah, okay. Cow.
Yeah.
Caucasus. This is a German map, that's why. So that's them saying Caucasus. So the Caucasus here. We call them Caucasians, that's kind of unfair because according to all sorts of scholarly research from very many different types of discipline, genetics, archaeology, language, and so forth, this is the best guess that they made to say, where did this original tribe of pastoralists running around with goats, herds, and goats, sheep, and other milky animals with nice fur, nice milk and nice fur, where did they originate? And then, well, so here, north of the Caucasus, and check it out, so they peopled, they split. They split in 3 directions, basically. That's the main point. They split in 3 directions. Please write that down. These are the Proto-Indo-Europeans. Proto means earliest. Proto. Dash or hyphen. Indo hyphen. European. Proto-Indo-Europeans. A nice ring to it. Yes?
How do you spell that Caucasus?
Caucasus. Like Caucasian, take off the us and add an IAN. C-A-C-U, Asian. No, I'm sorry, C-A-U-C, Asian. Cauc, Asian. Simply put, here we go. For whatever reason, this is prehistory, but only by 500 years. These pastoralists split into different groups and separated forever. So here they shared a common language because they were one tribe. And so they all spoke the same tongue. But 1,000 years, 2,000 years later, their languages evolved separately because they separated and had been separated for that long. Maybe they intermarried with locals who were already there with their own languages. Who knows? Look at British English and American English. Look at how they've separated. So, now I'll make it even more radical because they never even talk to each other. So, 3 directions. 1, Europe. 2, Anatolia, Iran, and 3, India. Our major group to talk about for the peopling of Europe now, notice, these Proto-Indo-Europeans, they all speak the same language. If you ask all these different languages, Italian, German, Baltic languages, the Greeks, the Albanians, Anatolians, Iranians, and Indians, if you ask them to count to 10, you will hear the same sounds. If you ask them to say the word father, all of these words that we needed before cities, because these are the basic words, river, fire, food, woman, all of these, mommy, all of these words, if you just like list the basic words of nature and society, for all these different language groups, you will hear things that are like, yep, they sound so similar. These all go back to some original tribe. That's one reason that we know. You'll also see pottery styles and all sorts of stuff that are similar, going back into prehistory. So, the Greeks are an Indo-European people. And here they come because they're going to, Alexander the Great's going to come from them. The Celts, hugely important, to get back to them. Oh, and just to show you something that in history of China, I gush over. Look at these Indo-Europeans and look at how they covered the whole world. All of these different colors are Indo-European colors, but they didn't hit China. The Indo-Europeans just went everywhere but China. China developed its own language. China developed its own everything, but we're saving the best for last. Okay, so first let's deal with those bloody Indo-Europeans. And I do mean bloody, because the Celts, I need a map of Europe. I need a map of Europe. I need a map of Europe. Is that a map of Europe? kinda.
Hey, Mr. Burrell, is it K for Celt or C?
C.
Both work. No, I'm sorry, C. Use C. Oh God, that's really horrible, but we just talked about the major geographical divider between, in Africa. What was it?
Sahara.
The Sahara. Europe has the same thing. We talk about Southern Europe and Northern Europe. What's the divider in Europe? There are mountains and there are 3 of them. Notice what people's first here. What people's first here in the Mediterranean in Europe?
Greece.
Look, it's in green.
Italy, Greece.
Sicily.
The south of Europe, the Mediterranean coast. What mountain separates Spain from northern Europe?
Pyrenees.
The Pyrenees, P-Y-R-E-E-N-E-E. P-Y-R-E-N-E-E-S. P-Y-R-E-N-E-E-S. Separates Spain, right at the neck there, separates Spain from France. That's the Pyrenees, geographic barrier. What mountain separates Italy and Greece from northern Europe?
The Alps.
The Alps above Italy, the Alps, and above Greece.
Carpathians. Jinx.
Can we just call it the Balkans?
You said Italy to what? The Alps
What?
separate
Italy from northern Europe. So, okay, so now we can talk about the Celts. The Celts came into northern Europe, and they peopled it. And they got really good at iron. Although they weren't civilized, they didn't have cities, they had villages, but they were really good at iron. And finally, where's your textbook? It's hilarious. There's a classic line in your textbook. Let me find it. Celts. See, I mean, we could be talking about your quiz right now. Look at the time we've saved. Here we go. Celtic society. I'm going to read you one paragraph on page 50 if you want to read it. It's great fun. Your textbook's good. It's on page 50 of our paper textbook. The Greeks and Romans remarked particularly on the appearance of the male Celts. Now notice, appearance. The Greeks and Romans said, these guys look really, these are other Caucasians. They're like, these Celts look really weird. What was my argument earlier? About determinism? Genetics. Even their physical appearance, the Greeks were like, they don't look like us. So listen to what they said. Particularly on the appearance of male Celts. Their burly size, long red hair, burly red-headed Nick over there, Nick the Grunwald, which they often, I love this detail, which they often made stiff and upright by applying a cement-like solution of lime. I'm going to make a chimney hairpiece with a lime cement-like solution of my red hair. WT freaking F. All right. Trousers, shaggy mustaches and loud, deep voices. Trousers, usually an indication of horse riding people, and twisted gold neck collars were similarly distinctive, but not unusual as the terrifying warriors who fought naked and collected the skulls of defeated enemies.
Sounds fun.
Bam! These are the Celts. Welcome to them. The surviving accounts describe the Celts as wildly fond of war, courageous, childishly impulsive and emotional, and fond of boasting and exaggeration, yet quick-witted and eager to learn. The warriors of Welsh and Irish legend reflect a stage of political and social development less complex than that of the Celts in Gaul, France. So notice they like spread all over the place, through here. So as you go further and further west, they get even more and more like isolated. Now we're in like the British Isles. A quick detail. They raided one another. They raided one another's flocks, reveled in drunken feasts. It's like frat boys. And engaged in contests of strength and war. Here's the kicker. Here's the kicker. Details like this will make your AP reader love you. At banquets, warriors would fight to the death just to claim the choicest cut of the meat, the hero's portion. Anybody want to fight over this drumstick? Get your sword. And one's dead by the end of it, and the other gets the drumstick. Welcome to the freaking Celts. Is that just incredibly intense? All right, so now let's go over to the Greeks. The earliest Greeks were basically pirates who made their living. The earliest Greeks, these are still Celts, were pirates who made their living by taking their boats across the Aegean and plundering. But then something happened that made that civilization just totally disappear. Anybody have any ideas what? The earliest Greeks, huh? No. The earliest Greeks were Bronze Age Greeks, and then something happened that made them just totally disappear. Nope. And that happened around the 12th century BCE. I'm trying to reinforce a pattern here.
The Iron Age.
The Iron Age, again, the late second millennium, around the 12th century, Iron Age. So there's a dark age in the late second millennium BCE for these early Greeks. Those are the Trojans, not the Trojans, Homer's heroes, Achilles and all that, the Mycenaeans. So in any case, they, late Bronze Age, they fell. We don't know why, same mystery. Why did Egypt fall? Why did all these places fall? Late Bronze Age, early Iron Age stuff. And then things start bubbling back up. Okay, so we have just added the Celts and the Greeks to peopling the world. So, okay. Where's my power? You know what, I don't think I have the need for this. All right. Suicidal Bunny, you didn't do your job. Let's move on now to the Persian Empire. We just peopled the world. Okay, we just peopled the world. We just peopled Europe and Greece. Back to the Israelites. I have an essential question for you. AP wants you to not just regurgitate. So how do you actually make analytic, interesting historical insights, which is what gets you to the 9 level and also just makes writing fun? We talked about the magic of that one word that makes it okay to take a risk. What's that one word? Perhaps. Please remember that. There are other ways, Arguably, there are all sorts of words we can use. Possibly, all sorts of words we can use to show that we know that we're not sure, but it's an interesting idea, blah, blah, blah. So, here's a question for you. And we're going to pursue this question as we go through all of the classical religions of the classical world, because they're the ones that we still have today. Hinduism, Buddhism, Confucianism, Taoism, Christianity. Did I leave any out? Huh? And Judaism's worth. So here's our question. Human nature runs the spectrum from evil instincts, does it not? I made this question. This is not an AP question. I love this question. We are capable of doing evil. We cannot debate that, right? These instincts of greed, of heartlessness, of cruelty, of violence, we have these instincts in us, and we always have. We just saw, let's collect their skulls. How evil is that, right? So if it runs a spectrum from evil, it also runs to good instincts like what? What are some good human nature instincts that we know we have? Thanks, Ryan.
Love.
Love,
You see, like
respect,
Compassion.
compassion, like I feel your pain, I can actually, I care, I sympathize, all these things. Peacefulness. Let's stop this war. Let's stop this destruction. Let's defend the weak. Let's take care of the poor. All these things. So here's our question, because this is the age of the birth of classical religions. All of these civilizations came up with what they thought were the best ways to tame human nature and bring out its best instincts and discourage its worst instincts. So, what are the best ways to tame the evil instincts and strengthen the good ones in a society? I want to first, do you get the question? Write that down, because we're going to, you might be doing a comparative essay, for example, on the moral solutions to evil that the religions came up with. What are religions? Ways to try to make us good and less evil. And so to do comparisons of the classical civilizations, you need to be able to answer the question, how did Judaism try to tame evil and promote good? So let's quickly talk about that. Discuss amongst yourselves. The religion of Abraham and Moses and David and the Israelites, how did it try to make people good? How would you summarize it? Make a bullet point. Think to yourself for 30 seconds. Make a bullet list, Alana. 30 seconds, a bullet list. How did the Old Testament try to make people good? How did it try to motivate them not to be evil? Make a bullet point so you can turn and talk in a second. Okay, time's up. Hands, please. Let's get this thing going in fast. Arjun, you got a hand? Good, thank you.
Maybe, since rewards versus punishment in the afterlife, like.
There's no afterlife in Judaism. We already talked about that. There's no afterlife in Judaism. There is in Christianity, but there's no afterlife in Judaism. If there is, it's we're shadows under the earth in a really dirty, unpleasant place, eating dirt. It's not hell. There's no demons torturing us. We just die and we just become these sort of like sad people underground. Ugh. That's it. There's no afterlife. We don't go to heaven with God. That's Christian. That's not Jewish. Don't make that mistake in AP world history. Christians have souls going to afterlives with angels and God. Jews don't. Okay? Life ends at death. There's 2 mentions of a place called Sheol, but it's just a shadowy place like Gilgamesh's underworld. Very Mesopotamian. But we do have threats, do we not? What are the threats? What are our examples? What are examples of threats in the Old Testament? Thank you.
Having the promised land taken away.
I'll take the promised land away from you. If you do what?
Don't just worship. If you do follow
If you worship any other gods, bam. Okay, so what is good? What is good in this it's called ethical monotheism. I think this is a very, very, very interesting word. Western people came up with it. Oh, the special thing about the Old Testament and the Hebrews and their monotheism was it's an ethical monotheism. Does anybody want to question why did these European Christian historians, who also named the Middle East, when it's Western Asia, why did they And this name stuck, ethical monotheism. Mr. Torgerson loves this title. Every time we have a meeting saying, what should we teach him about Israel? He's like, ethical monotheism. And I'm always like going, why do we say it's ethical? What's so ethical about it? How's it not ethical?
They're very radical.
They're very radical. What does that mean?
They I don't really know.
Okay, well, if you don't know, then don't feel like you have to try to know. So threats of punishment from God.
It's kind of negative reinforcement, isn't it? Like, don't do this or something bad happens.
It's an angry paternalism, isn't it? Paternalism, father. He says, I am your father, and I'm a jealous God and an angry God, right? I will punish you if you don't worship me, and if you don't follow my laws.
So for disciplines?
It's legalistic. I've got 600 plus commandments. A lot of them are ritual. This is very important. A lot of them are ritual. Don't come to this temple for sacrifice if you're on your period. Don't wear shirts of mixed fiber. Don't eat fish and drink milk at the same meal. Ritual things, not moral, ethical things. Be good to widows and orphans and the poor. So in any case, but there is compassion for the poor, widows, and all sort of thing. Etc. God punishes those who are cruel to widows and such. Is God all loving to the Jews? Does he love everybody? Everyone who worships him. Did he love the Canaanites?
No.
Nope. He told the Jews, the Hebrews, the conquerors, to exterminate them. Literally exterminate them. Not just them, but their trees and their dogs and everything.
So genocide.
It's genocide. Yeah, literally. So notice the Christians are a different religion. What do they do with this very disturbing God? He's an Iron Age God. He's an early Iron Age God. Put your context to the birth of this religion, early Iron Age. You've seen all the devastation going on all around the Middle East, the Iron Age. This God makes sense in an Iron Age of destruction and chaos. Okay, so now in come the Babylonians. I don't want to talk about them though because we need to get to the Persians. The Persians. What do you need to know about the Persians? We're talking 5th century BCE when they started the Second Temple period. But so where did they come from? Iran. If this is the Tigris-Euphrates, there is a ridge of mountains that separates Iran from Iraq or Mesopotamia. And that ridge of mountains is the Zagros. The Zagros mountain range. So those Indo-Europeans who peopled Iran, they peopled the other side of the mountains from Mesopotamia. Mountains separate Mesopotamia from Iran. The Zagros mountains. They are Indo-European. And they follow a religion called Zoroastrianism. Have I told you anything about Zoroastrianism yet?
No.
No, but you mentioned it.
Okay, so here it is.
It's on page 92.
Yeah. Thank you. The greatest emperor of the Persian Empire was not Cyrus, who did liberate the Jews. And if you can remember Cyrus the Great, he started the Persian Empire. Cyrus the Great. Cyrus, C-Y-R-U-S. He's worth remembering because he's a marker event, isn't he? He started a new empire and ended another one. Cyrus the Great. Who told the Jews, build your second temple? Cyrus. He's in the Bible. They love him. The Jews love him. He let them build the second temple as a minor episode in his biggest empire yet on earth. He didn't make it the biggest. His grandson Darius did. D-A-R-I-U-S. Darius the First. D-A-R-I-U-S. Darius the First. He expanded the empire to its greatest extent. And as he did, he left a speech inscribed on stone, monumental stone tablet with his speech on it. And it says this. He proclaims, Ahura Mazda, we'll get to the spelling of that in a minute. Ahura Mazda is the chief god of the Iranian religion of Zoroastrianism. Ahura Mazda, like Mazda the car. Ahura, A-H-U-R-A. It's all one word. Ahura Mazda, M-A-Z-D-A.
Crazy.
A-H-U-R-A, Ahura, M-A-Z-D-A, Mazda. Ahura, he's the chief god of Zoroastrianism. Ahura Mazda, when he saw this earth in commotion, thereafter bestowed it upon me, made me king. By the favor of Ahura Mazda, I put it down in its place, this commotion. I am of such a sort that I am a friend to goodness. I am not friend to wrong. I'm a friend to right, not to wrong. It is not my desire that the weak man should have wrong done to him by the mighty man, nor is it my desire that the mighty man should have wrong done to him by the weak. I don't want anybody to do wrong to anybody else. I am on the side of the right, not the wrong. Please stop making your crinkly noises. Anybody here know Nietzsche? The philosopher Nietzsche? So where did Zoroastrianism come from? It came from a prophet named Zarathustra. And Zarathustra wrote a scripture called the Gathas. G-A-T-H-A-S. This is the scripture, the sacred text, the Gathas. Zarathustra is very, very, very famous. He is a martyr event himself because, where's my Zarathustra? It's Zoroaster, Zarathustra, that's I think the Greek name for him. I can't find my Zarathustra. Damn. Where's my Zarathustra? I lost my Zarathustra. My Zarathustra is not to be found. Hell and damnation, hell and damnation, hell and damnation. I will stop looking for my Zarathustra. Hell and damnation. Friedrich Nietzsche wrote a book called Thus Spake Zarathustra, one of the great classics of German philosophy of the 19th century, early modern, in which he proclaimed God is dead and we killed him. The Christian God. God is dead and we killed him. Early modern world. In any case, so why did Nietzsche bring up Zarathustra? Because Zarathustra is the first one to come up with this idea of a good God versus an evil God. The cosmos, Alana, is divided. It's a battlefield, the cosmic battlefield between good and evil. Zarathustra said that the universe is a cosmic battlefield between good and evil, and every individual must choose whether to side with the good or side with the evil. Ahura Mazda is the god of good. Now, this god of evil is a new thing, because he is a cosmic force that balances and contradicts and conflicts with good. This dark lord. Do we have such a dark lord in our Western religious worldview these days?
Yep.
Satan. Satan in the Old Testament helped God. In the Hebrew Bible, Satan helps God. He tests people for God. God and Satan talk to each other. He's not tormenting people in hell. He's an angel who helps God. The Persians took over and ruled Judea during the Second Temple period for several hundred years with this Zoroastrian religion. that has a good God and an evil God who, check this out, at the end of time will have a final battle. And everybody who helped the bad God, the good God will win. And everybody who helped the bad God will suffer eternally in hell. And everybody who helped the good God will join that God in a new, pure cosmos with no more evil, because we have won the cosmic battle and there's only good now. And it's a new cosmos that's purely good. And that's your reward for fighting with the good God. If you fight with the evil God, you will lose with him and you will suffer forever. So there is an end of time here. The Jews never had an idea. In the Old Testament, there is no mention that time ends. The last day, there is no such mention in the earliest half of the Bible. There is in the Christian Bible. Jesus comes at the end of time, on Judgment Day, where people who sided with the good go to heaven, and people who sided with Satan go to hell. And they are judged based on who they sided with in this cosmic battle. Why are Christians so different from their Jewish forefathers? Why is the Christian scripture of the New Testament so different from the Hebrew text of the Old Testament? There is no afterlife in the Old Testament. There is no Satan, evil God, in the Old Testament. There is no judgment, heaven and hell in the Old Testament. There are no demons in the Old Testament. All of these do exist in the text of Zarathustra, which was Darius's. As you just saw, he said, Ahura Mazda made me king, blah, blah, blah. The Persians also drew on Zoroastrian moral and physical concepts. Alive to the beauties of nature, they venerated water, purity, yada, yada. Last paragraph. Zoroastrianism preached belief in one supreme deity, maintained high ethical standards, and promised salvation. Know the word. It does not mean to save. It means to... Oh, I've got a burn. Does anybody have any salve? Heal. A salvation religion, a religion that heals you, be healed. You're sick, you're diseased, be healed. You're evil, be healed. You're possessed by demons, be healed. Expanding with the advance of the Persian Empire, it may have influenced, they say, Judaism and thus indirectly Christianity. God and the devil, heaven and hell, reward and punishment, the Messiah, and the end of time. This is not boring at all. Most Christians don't know anything about the history of their faith. In fact, they haven't read the book, either one of them, the Old Testament or the New Testament. It's intensely interesting stuff. Because if Darius hadn't risen, would there be a Christianity today? Would we all be like talking about heaven, hell, and all sorts of stuff in the Christian world? And Zoroastrianism would live until Islam came along, 700 years CE. But instead, the Persian Empire fell when Alexander the Great came along. Now, do you have your list of details? If you were to write an essay about continuity and change over time, how did Judaism just change on its way to becoming Christianity? What things did Zoroastrianism and the Persian Empire leave in Israel? What ideas? You should have that in your list. The Greeks. I'm not going to talk about this stuff because democracy in Greece lasted less than 200 years. It was a failure, and it collapsed. And nobody does democracy like Greece does democracy because it was direct democracy. Every single person's vote, in the end, it was just like majority wins. That'd be like SAS all voting and whatever, like the big, you know. Okay, so nothing but candy in the lunchroom every day. Okay, and we all voted for candy in the lunchroom. We win. Right? Stupid. But these are the things that happened until Darius. Darius took Anatolia. And on the coast of Anatolia, there were some Greeks who had colonized it. So there were colonies of Greeks on the coast of Anatolia. These were Greek people. These weren't Anatolian people. They didn't identify with the Anatolian civilization of the Hittites and post-Hittites. They identified with the people in Greece and the Greek islands. They spoke the Greek language, they worshipped the Greek gods, they had the Greek culture, same as Athens and all those other things. Darius wanted them, Darius took them, and they rebelled. And the Ionia, this place is called Ionia. The Ionia is the Anatolian coast, the coast of Turkey today, facing Greece. Ionia, the coast of Turkey, the coast of Anatolia, facing Greece. The Ionians rebelled, and who helped them? Athens helped them. And Athens sent a navy to the Ionian coast with soldiers on board, and they helped the Ionians fight. And it took Darius a long time to put this revolt down, and he was pissed. So he did put it down. But he remembered these Athenians, who he had never really heard of because they weren't real important. They were over on some little like peninsula over there in the lake that hasn't yet been civilized too much. And so Darius sent an invasion force in 490 BCE to swallow ancient Greece into the Persian Empire. And Sparta and Athens beat him. So in 480, he sent a second invasion to Greece. Except this time it wasn't Darius, it was Xerxes. This was Darius. And so now we got, which one is the 300?
Yeah, that's Thermopylae.
Xerxes? That's Thermopylae. So in 480, Thermopylae, blah, 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 blah. Greece wins again. The Persian Empire loses twice trying to conquer the Greeks. That's a good place to stop. I didn't get as far as I wanted to get. I did get the peopling out of the way, that was important. So, what I'm going to do tonight is, what's today, Monday? All right, so your quiz is very short. You'll do your quiz at home. That's one. Two, I'm going to do like a 7-minute podcast, just to finish this, getting the high points of Greece. Listen up. Matthew, it's okay. Listen up. 3, just watch school with me and you'll see everything. But you're gonna, how many of you know the allegory of the cave? Plato's allegory of the cave? Really? Your teachers didn't give you that? How many of you have heard of Plato? Okay, all right. Well, get ready because you know what? There's as much of Plato in Jesus than there is Iran. And so you're gonna we'll discuss next class how I can make that claim. Yeah. No, the quiz is on Schoology. Yeah.
It has to be done by.
Yeah. Do it
Like.
No, by next class. Okay. I'll just make it available. Freely available.
Yeah.
They are showing the blanks. They're going blanks that you all actually have to type it in correctly. Yeah. And if you don't, then it'll say you're wrong and your score sucks, and then you'll get a second chance until you get it right, and then you learned it.
Oh wait, so there's one correct answer, so it's kind of.
The only alternate. No. It's like the 5 things.
Oh.
Do you know the names of them verbatim, right? And then there's ordering things to like put things in the right order,
Like
which
periodization.
empire,
Okay.
periodization, things like that. All right, bye.
What was the battle that happened after Salamis and Mile or during that second invasion? I just remember it was like Thermopylae, then Salamis, and then Atticum? Attica.
I have to be like,
Wait, it wasn't
Is that,
Attica.
no,
Attica's a region.
you're talking about
Yeah,
Piraeus and the, like when they burned Athens down?
No,
Oh, no,
War.
I always have to be right.
You know what, I don't know, but
I can never get like.
I'm not a military history guy.
That's my thing.
I know.
And Nick doesn't know military history. He's like, I'm in pacifist. And I'm like, well,
Who's not in the
Nick's not big. Like in quiz, he doesn't know military history. That's my job.
Okay, who's... Is that Grunwald? Grunwald? Grunwald is a burly Celt. Maybe this is Grunwald and just face down right there, that's good, Emily, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, bye.
Yeah, me too. It's fine.
Hold on.
Stole your coat.
No, 'cause I went on the meeting for the business school.
Well, you can always tell him. See.
We have a questionnaire.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Is it only on the themes and like the?
It's on everything that he said in the video, right?
Okay.
Like, I think it's
Just
just
like Genesis themes, right?
I think, well, it was about themes and then a little bit about Gilgamesh
Yeah.
and like the history of the creation of the Bible for some reason.
Gilgamesh was the first emperor, right?
No, it was a book. Gilgamesh was a book.
Wait, what was
Yeah,
the name?
Gilgamesh, the Epic of Gilgamesh, it's essentially the story of Sumerian mythology of
Wait, what was the name of the emperor? Like the guy in the Babylonian.
I've got his name somewhere. Bear with me. I believe his name was
Gilgamesh. Well, Gilgamesh was like the first king, wasn't he?
Hammurabi. Was that it?
Oh,
Hammurabi?
the Code of Hammurabi.
Yeah, that was it. The law code.
That was
He was the law code.
Hammurabi.
Law codes was just created by Hammurabi. I don't know if he was the first one or not, but he was the guy that did the law codes.
Yeah, he was. He was the first one. It was like, right, like,
No, Egypt, the king was the
The
one.
law
Yeah,
code.
I mean that.
code of law.
The law codes. They're called law codes.
Yeah, well, he was the first one to write law.
Oh, to write a code of law. Yeah.
Hammurabi's codes were ancient Babylon, were like old Babylon.
What?
Hammurabi was old Babylon.
Yes. Yeah, or no, he conquered Babylon. He was Mesopotamian.
Wasn't he from like Ur?
Conquered Babylon. Hey,
Wait.
I don't know.
Really bad.
I can seal that shit. Wait, tea?
I feel like I made myself wine shot.
You mind if I take this shirt? You guys Ow.
I swear, because I never said falling.
He's probably gonna take it down.
Yeah, he said optional and then he said in the video.
So I didn't bother
Which
going
page
down
did
to
you
it
look
and that it was.
Look, I know.
Said 91 and 96 to look at.
Really? I can't see that. Wait,
What is it? Humans in
There was a video on it.
Yeah.
Well, it was mainly for like B2, but I watched it for like
Okay, what happens when you get more interacting?
Okay, let me go first. Then you
Culture.
Yeah.
Takes in common.
Oh, Greek thinking. But that was like spiritual thinking.
after that is like that.
But actually, he said it wasn't very in depth.
You know, make which that.
Because it was just like the beginning.
She stole it.
And then finally,
From there. Alright. I don't know. I'll say they know like the full thing Huh? Oh, close your eyes and read whatever thoughts you have.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, yoga.
Gilgamesh was a ruler as well.
Yeah, and there's this book that shows the bitch. Not the bitch.
I don't know why I thought
She's their god. Okay, wait, 5 teams. So there's a relationship between humans and family. Culture, something about culture. It was a culture.
don't look at it.
Development and interaction culture. So favorite
But
culture.
you don't hear about that, you just say the first one.
Okay, culture. States and government.
State building.
State building and government. Social status.
yeah, it is after.
But that's one of them. The point is,
Social structure. It's the last one.
that's the 5th one. The 4th one is economics.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Religion.
It was good. That's my dog. She's so
What?
crazy. I got to see my dog.
If it's one for the voice, it's gonna be like.
I went to a movie with my girlfriend.
Then you don't
Is that out? It's about like, there are like these voices.
So you got your laptops out, you got your journals out, you're all ready to go. You're so excellent. Remind me not to kill you later. Okay, so when you hear the whistling ceiling, all you have to do is break the seal by opening a window. Go to Schoology, you'll see a link.
Oh, it's not a written quiz. This is an online quiz.
Just go to Schoology, you'll see a link.
Okay.
Let me drive, my friend, let me drive. Give me the steering wheel, give me the microphone.
Sorry.
No worries.
Send it back.